So when we're out on the lake, one of the things that field measurements that we measure, maybe I should say lake, not field measurements, is the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water. And we use the YSI meter to do that. And YSI simply stands for Yellow Springs Instrument. Sometimes we call it the DO meter, which stands for dissolved oxygen. So it's kind of like Kleenex, face tissues, YSI meter, DO meter. So before you go out on the lake, the best time, first you have to turn it on. And the best time to do that is right as you're getting on the boat, because the battery should warm up ideally about 15 minutes. And so that's why it's a good time to do it right when you get on the boat, because it can warm up while you're driving to your first sample location. So to turn it on, actually what you should notice first is each of our YSI meters is numbered. We only have 3 of them, which is why it's so important to schedule when you pick up your equipment, to be sure that one of these is available for you to use. So each one has a number, 1, 2, or 3. So this one is number 2. So you record which one you're using on your data sheet. These are kind of finicky instruments, and sometimes they go wonky. So that's why we like to know which one people are using. If they get weird measurements, it could be the meter that needs adjusting. So to turn it on, you just push this button here. It looks like a little sun, even though it says power right there. Some people press that. No, it's this one. You press on that, and it's going to light the screen up. So the screen is coming on. So like I said, you want it to warm up for about 15 minutes. So while we're waiting a little bit for it to warm up, normally we've had these in a carrying case for you, but because of COVID, that's just one more surface that could collect germs. So we'll just simply be sending it out like this. And the hardest thing about using this is getting the cord untangled. You'll notice that the probe here is covered with a cap, and you want to keep that probe on when you're calibrating. So now we're at our first, let's pretend that where it's 15 minutes has passed and we're at our first sample location, and it's time to measure the dissolved oxygen. So we want to keep the cap on the probe, and we're simply going to press the cal button. Cal is short for calibrate. So this one, the YSI meter you calibrate on the boat, the pH pen you calibrate at home. So I just push cal, and you'll notice the screen says, just push the button and the screen says calibrating, and you wait for it to calibrate, and when it's finished, it'll say calibration successful. There we go, calibration successful. So now you're good to go. So you'll see there's 3 sets of numbers on the screen. The top one is the measurement in milligrams per liter of dissolved oxygen as a gas in the water. The second number is the percent saturation that's the capacity of the water to absorb oxygen. And the very bottom measurement is the temperature. We talked a little bit earlier, I think, about how temperature and dissolved oxygen, like the temperature of the water, can influence how much the ability of oxygen as a gas to dissolve in the water, and the capacity. Usually the colder the water, the more oxygen it can hold. So this, we're going to lower the probe into the water a meter, which we have marked on this rope. So lower it in the water till you get to the red mark. But before you do that, you want to take off the cap and store it in a safe place. So if you're with your partner, you can hand it to your partner or put it in your cooler, or I'm going to put it in my pocket. So when you lower the probe into the water off the side of your boat, like I said, the probe should be about a meter under the surface, so just down to where that red mark is. And you can see I'm kind of moving the probe up and down in the water. You want to keep a current of water moving through the probe case. And then you'll see on your screen the meter is reading, and usually those numbers bounce around quite a bit. The first number to stabilize will be the bottom number, which is the temperature, and we have 15.8 Celsius. So you'll have your partner with the clipboard. You can call out those numbers and they can record them. And the top number, milligram per liter, when it looks like those numbers are stabilizing, now it looks like it's stabilized at 14.3 here. You could write that down, and then the percent saturation is 144, and you can see it's moving around, 144, 145. So just kind of pick the numbers that seem to be the most stable, because oxygen actually isn't even that constant in the water as you're measuring it. So when you're finished, just ring up your probe and being very careful not to hit it against the side of the boat, and safely put your cap back on. And you can keep it on, turned on, while you go to your next sample location. But once you're finished for the day, all you have to do to turn it off is, once again, push this button, the power button, and power it off. There you go.